Of course, this is the south side of our house. So in this area, we've chosen shrubs and perennials that do well in full sun and that can take some heat also. So we've got a combination of daylilies, which do well in full sun as long as you keep the moisture up well. And also the potentilla that we've planted is Dakota Sunspot, which is an NDSU introduced variety. One of the nice things about Dakota Sunspot is that it remains in very nice shape. It doesn't get so woody quite so quick, and it rejuvenates very, very well. And of course, daylilies, this one is Primal Scream. Isn't that a great name for a daylily? So, and now in this area, we mentioned how the use of curved lines is such a natural, and it can kind of complement the structure of the house. So in order to get the curved lines like this, I used a garden hose, a flexible garden hose, and you can put that down and kind of massage the curves into the area you want, and then begin digging your edging. Also, many of us, when we landscape, put the landscape too close to the house foundation. And of course, needing to redo, we can avoid some of the mistakes we did the first time around. And so I started out at least 16 feet from the house for the widest area, and the narrowest is about 12 feet. And so that may sound like a lot, but with a taller structure, you really need that far out. You know, over the years, I've never heard anybody say, you know, we planted our foundation planting too far out. Usually it's the opposite. You know, many of us plant it just too close to the house foundation, and in 10 or 20 years, it's so crowded. So just the concept of bringing the planting out far enough from the foundation, and in future years, most of us are going to be really happy that we came that far out. Also, in a landscape planting like this, I think it's so fun to combine all the different colors and textures, such as the low-growing creeping junipers. There's the green types, the blue types, and they mesh together so well. And those can filter along the ground in between, like the yellow potentillas and the ninebark with the dark colors, and then the different daylilies. And so the use of combining textures and colors, I think really adds pizzazz to the landscape. And then we can also add in some touches of color with annual flowers as well.
I absolutely love this yellow. What is that shrub behind? Because that just makes that shrub pop.
And that is one of the wine-colored ninebarks called summer wine. Doesn't that look beautiful in contrast? And also, you notice that we had a young little shrub, a newly planted shrub, and I'm concealing some of the mechanics of the house, the furnace exhaust pipes. I'm concealing that by, I planted a small double flowering plum, which will easily get, even with pruning, probably at least head high and that wide. And that will help conceal the exhaust pipes from the furnace.
Don, what do you do to control weeds?
Well, one of my favorite ways is with mulch. And of course, if a person puts mulch alone on the soil, usually weeds will find their way to poke right on through. And so first of all, the mulch needs to be fairly thick. I like shredded wood products versus wood chips. Wood chips tend to float and blow, and the shredded product meshes together better. So I really like shredded wood.
When you have these plants, how do you know how big they're going to get when you are planning where you should put
You know,
them?
that's a great question, because most of us have made the mistake of planting too close, because the plants in the garden center look so cute when they're small. And what I like to do is study the label very carefully and give each of those plants the footprint that it needs. For example, if a spirea says 3 feet, that it has a width of 3 feet, then I will measure that and make sure that that plant has its footprint before it will touch the next one. So if this one has a 3-foot footprint, the next shrub a 6-foot diameter footprint, making sure that each has its footprint. Because sometimes when you read spacing can be a little deceptive, but I think of it as the footprint needed for that shrub to occupy.
Do you have to be careful with the plants that you put together so that you have sun lovers together or shade lovers together?
You know, that's a good point, because we're on the south side, and so everything here, the creeping junipers, the aronia, the daylilies, the ninebark, all love full sun, and they can take a bit of heat. On the north side of the house, we have the shade-loving plants, the hosta, the Annabelle hydrangeas. So very important not to mix shade-loving with sun-loving. If I put these shade-loving plants that we've got on the north side, if we located those here, chances are they would not do well at all.
Do you need to have shrubs all along the foundation?
No, and one purpose of landscaping is just to make the house look like it's a part of the entire yard. And so the concept is not to try to hide the foundation. And sometimes if we concentrate all of the plantings just along the foundation, it looks like we're trying to hide something instead of making the house appear like it's part of the greater landscape. And of course, talking about foundation plantings is it's very important to get positive drainage away from the foundation so that we don't have basement problems. And the use of shrubbery along the foundation too also in the areas that you do plant shrubbery can help utilize the moisture too. Rather than not having landscape shrubs, many of the shrubs and perennials are good moisture users out along the foundation as well.